What's up, Joe?
Man, good morning.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, too.
It is a good morning. Bright and early here in Tehachapi. Nice, crisp day.
Yep.
Appreciate you coming to town.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to be here again.
So, yeah. No, I love it. So, I want to say, what's new with ETI, but I happen to know you have a spot in California and a spot in Texas.
Yeah, two warehouses, really trying to speed up our response time to our customers, right? Mm-hmm. Be able to ship pretty quickly in any direction and get to our customers, so that's good.
So Dallas was strategic.
Dallas was strategic. Yeah, 3 days ground shipping to anybody. It was just a good spot. And a lot going on in Texas. So
okay.
Yeah.
How you liking Texas? You've been a California. Well, you've been a California guy, Montana guy.
Yeah.
You were an Iowa family for a while.
Some Iowa time. Yeah, wind energy locations, right?
Yeah.
Texas is good. It's good for my family. Yeah. I mean, I miss California. There's a lot that California has to offer that I like, but Texas is good. Good for the season.
Family likes it.
Family likes it. Good schools.
Nice.
Yeah, can't beat that.
A lot of folks are moving to Texas lately.
Texas is a good location. Idaho is a good location. Yeah.
Idaho is.
There's a lot of people out moving out of California to Idaho.
I haven't heard that. Businesses too?
I don't know about businesses so much. Texas seems to be a good spot for business. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whoops, excuse me. It is. It's it seemed like a lot of Californians have been going. I've heard Dallas, and then for business, and then personally, a lot of Austin.
A lot of Austin, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, there's a few hot spots in the country. Nashville, Tennessee, I think is a spot where people are congregating to, moving to. Yeah.
I just heard that from some people earlier this week. Quick get together at Inner Solar, some spot south of Nashville.
And I don't know the spot, but I know I have a customer that was here for a long time, and now he's out of Nashville, operating out of Nashville. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he says it's good for his family. It's probably like Texas, just a good area to be from.
I got a little brother about an hour north of Nashville, and a sister-in-law.
Really?
Well, there was a wedding earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, good. So Texas and California, best of both worlds. Good for ETI.
Yeah, it's good for ETI. We have a huge customer base here, right? Lots of renewable projects, some aerospace that we do some business in, oil and gas is out in our backyard. So we can support a lot of different industries, but main focus on renewable power plants, renewable projects, and techs.
So you get to see wind, solar, battery storage, and then oil and gas also for tool needs, kits, trending new tools. It seems like technology is always growing.
Technology's growing. The demands are changing just a little bit, which is good, and we're able to provide some efficiency for what's needed in the field, which is good. So,
what kind of demand changes are you seeing in the industry?
Yeah, we're just seeing still growth. New projects going in, and people being hired, and the more infrastructure you put in the ground, the more people you need to take care of it typically. So
right. Are you seeing changes in how toolkits are set up? The types of tools or different kits for different jobs now?
A little bit, man. There's some really interesting things happening. I mean, I think we may have talked about this in the past, but you started with hydraulics, and the turbines started getting bigger. You had hydraulics doing torque, and then it changed, right? Needing to be more efficient, they came out with electric torque. You didn't have to bring so many pieces of equipment up there to do torque, and maybe there were some safety features involved in that with no high pressure fluids. And now people are going to battery. Battery's fast. I think they all have their place, though, right? But we're seeing a trend when it comes to maintenance where the batteries are coming into play. So these high torque battery tools, and then you're seeing new equipment from Europe that is really interesting. Low voltage grounding equipment, some really small handheld electrical testing equipment for is doing insulated amp testing and things like that. So we're seeing some changes there.
I've seen, excuse me, more different types of electrical testing equipment than I knew even existed now. So as you're saying, so that small tools for singular jobs, right? Maybe how's that working? So the OEMs are learning this is a common task. Let's isolate the tool, make it smaller, more portable.
I think the technicians are doing it. I think the technicians are looking for solutions to what they need to test, and then they're coming up with, hey, I think this product will do it. They're looking at specs and then coming to us saying, hey, can you get this product? So we're looking at brands all the time that that can add value in a tech's hands in the industry, and trying to bring those in and making sure they're available.
It's not as simple as our early days where a single multimeter could be used on anything, anytime, right? Now you grab a multifunction meter and it may not be suitable for, pick a power plant.
Yeah, we see them needing to test amperage more, multimeter functions more, insulation testing more, lots of power quality work going on. So we're moving a lot of power quality equipment. I think that with battery and with solar and hybrid projects, I think you're seeing a lot more, a more diverse need in tooling, right? For those three technologies working together. Yeah.
I know I've seen it a little more challenging on the kits, right? So in solar now, some sites are up to 1,500 volts, where others are still at 1,000. In battery, more and more insulated tools needed.
Yeah.
And then individual testing devices, simple, I don't know, I used to call them a tick tracer, but, to be able to test if voltage is present or not from a distance or in a certain spot. And sometimes it's smaller and less accessible.
Yeah, and I think with these three technologies, you're seeing the need for testing voltage. It's much higher need for it. So in almost every toolkit that we do for solar and battery, we're putting in some insulated distance protection equipment and voltage testing. So
talk to me about that distance testing equipment. Why is that important?
You want to make sure that you have the right boundary between you and that voltage and the distance it can travel. So just to ensure your safety, you want to reach out without getting close to it, just to verify that you're either dead or you have voltage there you need to be thinking about, right? It's a respect piece, right? You're respecting that distance no different than you would a lion in a cage at a zoo. You want to reach out there and just verify that you're good to go. So
let's dig into this a minute, because I think there's more awareness needed in the industry. So the distance from the lion in the cage, and when Joe was on, you hear him talk about sometimes the energy present in some locations is equal to what did he call it? Like a Scud missile, right? That you can't be protected. So the distance is what's key. And then knowing the distance means understanding your electrical charts, understanding what is present, understanding the arc flash.
It's called an arc flash boundary, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't have the facts, so I don't have the exact feet in inches that and I used to have it memorized, so I used to teach it inside of my power plants. But each voltage has a different kind of approach distance that you need to maintain for a safe working distance, and so being able to test that to make sure that it's there is important. It's important. When we trained on it, we used to put some live video up of guys in danger, guys in an accident, because it's real, right? You're in the field and your partner goes down because he took some voltage that you guys didn't know existed or didn't check for. You have to know how to respond in a real life situation. So I felt it was important to put my people through what that's like, right?
And showing videos.
And we would show videos of guy getting into high voltage and people coming to the rescue to save his life. And what was interesting about that is that we would have a room full of grown men, and some of them couldn't hack it; they'd fall out. But that's what's important about that is it's real life. You could be in a bad situation, and have taken an electric shock, and your partner can't hack it, he passes out. You have two victims in a situation, right? Instead of just one. So pretty important to put people. I think it's important to put people through that. Let's see how people can respond in a emergency traumatic situation.
I completely agree. Do you see, I haven't seen it lately, but are folks that you know of still watching the videos or sharing the videos, maybe on some internal training on Safety Awareness Week or, through annual CPR, first aid kind of times?
I mean, I think so. I'm not on the projects like I used to be in that fashion, but I think they are. I think they're training in CPR real time with a mannequin, right? They're going through the exercise to get your heart rate up. I think maybe I think if you're doing a specialized training and bringing a company in that's teaching on arc flash and emergency response and things like that, they're showing some images of what takes place. I don't know that they're showing video of it. I got a lot of kickback, right?
Believe it.
Because it is traumatic, right? It's tough to watch somebody go through something like that. But I still think that there's some real importance in understanding what that situation's like and how you have to respond, right?
I'm not saying that I know what the right answer is here, but I've noticed a shift in society and culture through my life, and we're almost darn the same age. Do you remember in high school for driver's ed training watching a video called Asphalt Red or Red Asphalt?
I think so. I think,
Red
and all the
Asphalt?
kids talked about it leading up to it and nobody wanted to watch it, right?
You had to.
Some people wanted to watch it, some people didn't want to watch it.
At the public school, it's a requirement.
It's a requirement.
You want
It was a
license
requirement. I don't think
to drive.
I don't think it's a requirement anymore. I'm not sure.
It's not.
Yeah.
But we went through that, and that it's gnarly. It's difficult to watch, but it shows the real danger, the real risk. And I don't know what it is today. So, how many years ago? At least 2 or 3 since you and I watched that video, and we're in high school. But and technology on cars has improved, right? Safety's improved, so perhaps it's not as violent, but there's still risk for loss of life or critical injury.
Absolutely.
Right? And now we see it in power generation, that risk is greater, right? Because we have higher voltage, we have higher amperage, we have more power being produced per generator.
I mean, and you have more moving components, larger components. There's a lot of weight involved in everything. We're doing a lot more than when we were technicians. Everything is heavy, right? Even the tooling is heavy.
Yeah.
And in some cases, you have to use equipment to lift it to even get it into a position to ship. It's so heavy. Mm-hmm. That to me is a factor that needs to be looked at as well. I mean, how do you deal with that ever changing landscape for the people involved in doing the work?
Today's fast-paced industry, having the right tools isn't just an advantage, it's essential. That's where ETI Energy Tools comes in. With over 75 years of industry experience, they deliver strategic procurement solutions that enhance safety, efficiency, and cost savings. ETI provides industrial tools, safety gear, test and measurement equipment, and heavy repair solutions, all backed by a vast network of manufacturers. Whether it's tool kitting, PPE standardization, or high voltage tooling, ETI saves companies time and money while ensuring they have the right tools for the job. Contact ETI at etienergytools.com to learn more and gear up for success. Yeah, I'm just a fan of and promoting and trying to have some more conversations about how do we improve awareness.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying perhaps those, violent graphic videos are the way to go, but the polar opposite of that is probably not the way to go either, by not sharing or at least talking about some of the real risks and then the response, right? And rule number 1, check that scene before you go in. If you're wanting to save somebody and help somebody out. I remember that was part of the videos too.
Don't create a second victim. Make sure
you remember watching videos on that?
Yeah.
How one incident turned into 2, turned into 3.
Yep. And it just happened. I mean, just a few years ago, it happened where, and I don't know the location, but they were trenching for a project and somebody fell in. Trench started to cave in. People went in after the person, and now there's multiple victims in there. And I don't remember if there were fatalities involved, but there could have been a couple of fatalities involved in that accident.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, and then, so, we can talk about awareness, but I bring it up, you're the tool guy, and we talk about it with some of the training companies too, right? Technical training and proper tooling, knowledge and usage is part of the key to keeping yourself safe, right? If you're using the wrong tool, or maybe it's the right tool in the wrong way,
Yep.
you're introducing a safety risk.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that we're behind the times on training. You see an elevation in training with GWO, and you see people having to go through it and more certification. Even with all of that, I think we're behind in training. If you look at the rapid growth that we've had in renewables, I mean, wind energy, solar, battery, and that, that's going to continue. We may go through some lulls where it slows down, but it's a good form of power generation. That rapid growth, I think, has set us behind in terms of training on people with the amount of staff needed to do what's going on in the field. So.
You're right. There's a strain between supply and demand, huge demand at the moment.
You need those guys in the field doing the work, right? There's a demand to get the work done in a certain amount of time. Can you afford to take time away to train those guys? Where's that? What does that balance look like? What does the cost look like for the company? And is everybody balancing that the right way, right? How many hours of training those guys need to be safe? And there's a lot of emphasis on safety, but I don't know that there's that much emphasis on proper tooling use. So
there are a lot of technical institutes out there now, right? Yeah. Doing intro to industry kind of training, and it is a lot of safe working practices.
Yeah.
PPE is huge. How to use them, how to stay safe. It's a lot of that. Then maybe you get some basics like intro to AC theory, intro to DC theory, hydraulics, bolted joints, some mechanical pieces, and then some tools in the mechanical area also get taught. But from what I've gathered, and typically this is, it's very isolated. They're not climbing a wind turbine. They're not walking a solar field. They don't have a 20-foot battery storage container in front of them. And then, as a matter of fact, Chance thinks about this a lot, right? That training piece for technicians, and always sort of brainstorming new ways to take care of it, because you go from that piece, kind of gets you introduced to a large number of companies, right? Your resumes go out, and there's a ton of institutes across our country. And then they go and get the job. And usually it's like a little bit more safe, like a GWO, right? Maybe a couple of weeks there. And then it's OJT, on the job, right? And that on the job piece, he has some ideas about how we can improve and fix that, because there is a blend. You can't just put the person in school and go to work. You kind of got to go a little school, a little in the field, an apprenticeship kind of situation, back to school, back to field. It takes time.
And as a manager, you have to know who you're going to put that guy with, right? It has to be the right person. It's that guy that is patient, and he understands it's a new learning curve for somebody, and he's willing to take the time to say, hey, this is, you don't want to do this, you want to do it this way. And then on the new person side, they have to be willing to accept the input.
Yeah,
and learn from it. You can't go in there and know it all, and not be ready to absorb what you're being taught.
Yeah. On the safety piece, I just want to reiterate, when it comes to electrical shutdowns, right, and isolating energy, and we're talking about electrical energy at the moment, that distance is important. You got to know that distance before you go in and do your hot check, right? Before you switch, you need to know that distance. And Joe Chacon was on and talks a lot about that distance, and then have the right tool to keep yourself out of harm's way. And if that's not available, go somewhere else to isolate energy, right? Some places you can't get to, and you need to know where you can't go. Go to the other point to isolate energy and stay away. And there's little upgrades now where you can build a takeoff to test somewhere else?
I think that some of the substation requirements for switching, grounding, and bonding need to be pulled into battery storage, solar, and wind a little bit more. So requirements for utilities is to have a switching order, an order of events that need to take place, so that you can isolate that power and take everything down the right way, ground all the proper things that need to be grounded. And so we had switching orders that we wrote for our substations. They're mandatory to ensure that you've done it the right way because lives are at stake, high voltage, right? But I think that can be driven down to your solar and battery storage plants, where you have a person that's verifying a time that you did the action, right? But it's also confirming that you did the action, right? It's a review of what you've done, and you're calling that out, saying, hey, we did this step, we switched this. You write down the time. It's just a verification of what you're doing. Guys get in a rush, and if you miss one step, I've seen guys do it, blow transformers up, missing one step.
Yeah.
And
injuries occur, not just
lucky,
product, but people.
Probably lucky they're still here.
They're still here.
Yeah.
You talk about the industry transfer, though. I spent a lot of my life where we leverage best practice and then leveraging them across different types of power plants. And often it's the owner-operator and the ISPs that, have the best opportunity to leverage the best practice, right? Because they get to see so many different types of work process procedures, lotto, safe entry procedures. And you can if you can blend those teams a little bit, right? Maybe put an ops manager gets to see them all and review them, or your safety guy gets to see them all. And then there's a best practice let's apply it to.
I think the knowledge between projects and what's going on needs to be shared much more. It's not confidential of how we're going to keep our people safe.
What does Rise? I love how they say it. Safety is not proprietary.
Safety is not proprietary, and you need to be sharing. If you figured out a way to keep somebody from getting injured, I think these guys need to share.
100%.
There should be a great forum for it somewhere where, you can read about it, or you can share that information amongst sites.
Yeah.
And no matter the technology, right?
I appreciate it. Safety's been, it's always on my mind, but here lately it's been near and dear to a lot of my thoughts. So, all right, we'll get you off of that. And I know you're the tool guy, but you've also had quite an impressive career. So I like some of our other chats. Can you talk, you said the manager has to know, which sort of senior person to put them with, right? The mentor to the apprentice, or however you want to, use that term. And at Altair, actually, we just got done teaching. We did a 10-week course on intro to management, and it's only about the soft people skills, right? Learning yourself, learning other people, how to identify, attributes and personality types and motivational attributes. What motivates you may not motivate me, things like that. Those are the skills I think you're hinting about that allows the manager to choose the right folks.
Well, I think to be a good manager, you have to be a little bit of a people person, right? And you have to understand how to deal with the different personalities that you're in charge of managing, right? And by doing that, who your teacher could be, who your patient guy is, and who the guy that just wants to put his head down and grind.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to me. So I'm a part of a business program in Texas where I get mentored by a group of people.
Okay.
It's called Biz Owners Ed. It's amazing. So I applied for it back in 2023, got selected for 2025, and we just did a culture index as a team, and I was really impressed at what the culture index told me about my team and why we fit the way that we do, and it was really good. Really good. So one of the big things for me is I want to build a great culture inside of our company. Right.
Yeah.
I want a culture of people that want to be there. We want to serve. Mm-hmm. We want to serve not only our customers but each other. We want to do the same thing with the brands that we're representing, the manufacturers and reps, and we feel like we're in a relationship business, not just a supply business. We want to build good relationships that support. And so in doing that, one of my focuses is on culture. I want people that also want the same thing. They want to align with building a good culture of people that care about what we do. And so seeing that culture index and getting to get a little review on it was really, really, I guess, eye-opening for me that I have great people. And I have great people in what seems to be, according to the index, in the right place for their personality. And that's how you keep your boat rowing in the right direction.
100%. At least in my circles, not enough conversation on that piece of management and team building, department structure. And I think it is because of the demand. We're all growing fast, and it's hard to kind of think about. So I don't want to like knock anybody, either of us. But that kind of time spent, right, where the manager should take a look at the team and run that assessment on personnel. And I also think it's fun. I don't know if you did it, but you get the team together and you have them all take a personality test, and we kind of all do it together. It's a vulnerable situation, but everybody gets to learn about themselves and about each other.
We did it. So we all submitted our information and got all the documents back to review. And then we've been going over it as a team, right?
Okay.
Just to see how we all mesh together and what we need to take away that doesn't work for us and what we need to add that we want to do as our career progresses. So I want to promote the people to do what they want to do. I don't want them just doing what I need them to do. I want them to do what they want to do. They need to enjoy what they do.
Yeah.
If I was a owner rep today and managing a site, self-performing, I would have my team doing a culture index.
Okay.
I would. Because then as a manager how everybody works together, right?
It's fantastic. We had, at GE, we did several different versions of this, but one year, this is quite a few years ago now, like 6 or 7.
Right.
But I did one a little more ad hoc because we had it's like this area of the United States was my area of responsibility, right? So there's so many site managers and ops people and a lot going on. Great, leaders scattered.
Yeah.
So we'd get together in a city in a conference room. We did one in San Diego, and I brought in a 2-person improv team, and they gave us a disc test. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So everybody took it. And then, because it was improv, they're great at making you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? You're out of your comfort zone. And then everybody kind of got in their corner for how they scored. And you're learning about yourself. They're explaining it. You're learning about each other. And then you play, plenty of funny games, yes and game, or, show us how you get down and you're dancing and you don't want to be dancing in front of all these colleagues.
Nope.
Right? But it just broke down it was like 4 hours, right? It wasn't, but it was so powerful to just see the entire team change in a day if you commit it.
Yeah, is that around the same time that we came and spoke for your team in Las Vegas?
Would have been offset by about 6 months, probably.
Okay.
6 or 12 months. I didn't do them very frequently.
I really I like how you did that with your team.
Yeah.
First people need to grow, but
Yeah.
you grow through learning, right? And a lot of that is being in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Right? Getting yourself out of your comfort zone is where you find out who you are, right? And I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. We got to be doing more of it all across, right? All levels of and all types of businesses and levels within those soft people skills and personality indicators and education and learning how you are. And then it's important to teach, okay, if you understand this is your type, right, of personality, this is your type of leadership style, this is your type of motivational style. It doesn't mean that's how you communicate all the time. It means, go learn the others and then learn when to be that type of personality, right? For the benefit of the people that work for you. This episode brought to you by RST Cranes. With over 30 years of experience, RST Cranes brings the industry expertise to every project. From wind turbines to solar inverters, mining operations to industrial construction, RST Cranes is your heavy lift specialist, located in Tehachapi, California, and serving the surrounding areas. Contact RST Cranes for your next project at www.rstcranes.com.
I can honestly say in my early time of management and supervision, I was horrible at it. And as I reflect back on it now, I'm growing all the time. And I wish I would have been doing the things then that I'm doing now in order to learn. Right. So I'm reading all the time about how to be better, how to manage better, how to do business better, there's just so many things that I'm wanting to absorb at this stage of life. I wish I was doing that then. It would have been so much better for my people. Right.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, for sure.
As I knew how to manage a project. The people piece was disconnected.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You be a manager that other people want to work for.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a challenge.
And it's hard to do.
Oh, it's so hard to do. But you're the tool man, and all it means is putting those tools in your toolkit as a leader. Yep. Right? Understand how to communicate.
I don't think it's any different. Yeah, I think it's the same. I think you have to understand how to put the right tools in the right places to operate correctly.
That's it.
To do a good job.
That's it. You know,
and have some goals set in there, right? I want to be a little bit better today than I was yesterday, right? And that's better in a lot of different pieces, right? It's better for my staff.
Yeah.
Better for my family, right? Just be a little bit better every day.
Yeah. All right. I'm not giving the family advice. I'm still working on that one myself all the time.
Same.
That's never ending. Always got to be better.
And I'm never going to stop studying for that. So
no. All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing on management styles, leadership techniques, and it is a set of tools.
Yeah.
It is a set of tools.
And I think that I fell short in a number of areas there, but being able to see that is good. So
it's the only way to grow.
Yeah.
I don't know another way, right? And in our leadership classes at Altera, I explain that on everything that it seems challenging as a person, but I expect to fail. And then know that you don't have to do it alone, right? Call your colleagues. And talk things out and make decisions as a group. You don't have to make a decision in a vacuum.
Yeah, and part of that index study was really neat. The guy that was doing the review with us, I've got my right hand guy that's helping me grow this, and he does an excellent job. But we argue about the way things should be.
Yeah.
And it's I do feel it's healthy though. It's healthy for me to understand his passion and why he's trying to make a decision that he's making. And at the same time, allow him to go down that path, right, of making that decision. It's helping him grow. It's helping me grow. And it's good for me to step back and let him give that idea a try or let him go down that road. So, yeah, pretty amazing.
Well, that's impressive. Going back to school yourself.
You have to.
Put yourself through school, finding the right mentors and groups and classes that help you, and you're real time delivering it to the team.
Yep.
Yeah, that's impressive. Just I think I've said it before, but if you don't have the time to go to school or the right opportunity, always advocate for people to go find a mentor. And the easiest way to find a mentor is tell a bunch of people you're looking for a mentor.
That's right. That's right.
It's that simple. Tell a bunch of people, and inevitably a mentor will appear.
That's
and
right.
It may not be who you were thinking of, but one will appear.
No, and if you're open to it, I mean, I have people, I seek people out every year to get involved with to grow myself.
Yep.
Right. Because not everybody, you can't see your blind spots. And so you need somebody that can help you see your blind spots. It's an area where you need to grow.
Yep.
So I go find them, and I've had some pretty good coaching people working with me for the last few years.
Yeah.
No, I love it.
No, I still keep half a dozen people close to me, and I would say no less than twice a year, an hour apiece, with some of them. And I'll tell you, there's still a couple that I swear I could not talk to them for a year, and within 90 seconds, they can tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like, if you find the right person that can just know you and, I don't know, somehow
does it get under your skin?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Does it get under your skin when they do it quick?
Oh, you bet it does.
Like, dang it.
But that's what you want from a mentor.
That's what you want.
You want to, be uncomfortable and be challenged,
Yeah.
right? You bet it does. If it doesn't, go talk to someone else.
I've had a hard time in the past with criticism and not trying. You can't take it personal as the piece that is hard to deal with.
Yeah, it gets under my skin, and I keep showing up to the conversation.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's right.
Yeah. That's how we
funny.
grow, right? No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's good. What about, have you noticed, we had Doug on here, right? And we did like a long session. He started in 82.
Yeah,
and I know every time we get
awesome.
together, it seems like you always got some piece of history or something to share. But I know you were looking at the Plinkos and Winmatics in these pictures, but I think they're from 80. Well, he started in 82.
These are right around 82, 83, maybe even just a touch earlier than that. I don't remember Plinko's. I don't remember the date that the Plinkos started going in, but I remember hearing my bosses talk about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were just talking the other day. You remember the flow wind turbine, the vertical egg beater?
There's still one standing.
Do you know where?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
All right.
And I hope it stays there. It's from what I understand, it's the only one left.
Are you not going to tell the world?
It's up in Washington State.
Okay.
And there's one standing, and I think there's either a Nortank or an old Vestas turbine on a tube tower standing with it. There's a few little museums around the country, and I hope that they grow them. So I think that's part of a museum piece.
Okay.
On private land.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And he has a couple of turbines on the property. There's another one in Iowa, and the guy was building a renewable museum and information center, and was putting up small turbines around his little farm. I'm trying to think of the Mendota, outside of like Mendota, Rochelle, Illinois. Somewhere right in there, there's a little renewable museum, and then of course there's one in Palm Springs. Yeah.
I haven't been to it. I need to hit some museums. Have you been to some of these?
I haven't been to. I've driven by a couple, but I haven't been there. I worked on them when they look like that. So, I worked on some 82s and 83s.
Don't need to go in and
I don't know that I need
again.
But there's some old machines that I think would be neat to go read the history on. Zenith, right?
Yeah.
And it looks to me like the same logo as the Zenith television back in the day. Mm-hmm. But it was a small wind turbine that was running here in Tehachapi.
We got to go check out these museums sometime.
I'll go with
I'd
you.
love to make a little trip.
All right.
Yeah, and you'd be the right guy to go with.
I'd love to go. So let's go do it. We'll do a little tour.
Right?
Yeah.
We could do a little tour. We do a little tour of the Tehachapi Hill too. And Palm Springs would be great. The history of running turbines is impressive too.
It is impressive. And if anybody has any more information on museums, I would love to get some info.
Little list of museums would be great.
Anytime I'm going out and looking at projects, if I run across an old project, I try to go read about it. Yeah. So, and I love seeing them. So
I do too. I need to take more time and pause and reflect on that. And how does it start? The original boom of wind energy collected a whole lot of different companies that were making their version of a wind turbine.
Yeah.
They don't all last, right? You end up with just a few key OEMs. I got a funny feeling we're going to see that in some other industries because of the large number of OEMs out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tehachapi is probably the place where there should have been a really good museum. I think there were more test turbines in Tehachapi than any other place in the U.S. And projects that went in and never ran. Full projects that never ran. They just couldn't do it. There wasn't enough data being collected on the way the wind was moving through the pass to understand it was not a good place for that wind turbine, or they weren't engineered correctly, and they couldn't keep them together. So, and I never had the factual information about it, but I used to sit around the lunchroom and listen to the guys talk about the old projects, and then you would travel around with a guy. When I was new, he had 10 years experience.
Yeah.
And so he would show me where all the old test sites were and what turbine was there, and turbines that you've never heard of, that very short period of time in history of when they were produced or engineered, to some turbines that were put up by like Vestas that were test platforms. Has anybody ever heard of a V29? Right?
No.
There was one on Zons Hill running for a long time, and nobody even knew it was a V29. It was another test turbine.
Okay.
I think it was a 275 or 300 kilowatt output turbine that Vestas was testing. Yeah.
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 I don't know of any Taka turbines in this country still running. I think there's still some in Europe.
There.
I'm pretty sure Willie told me he had like
He has some old ones.
10 or 20 50 kilowatts on the ground.
Or 60, and they were standing for a long time, but I never saw them run personally, but they stood out there for a long time. But I was in Germany in 2015, 2016, and man, there was some old turbines running. There were some old Nortanks, old Micons, and old Takis running.
Oh yeah.
50, 100 kilowatt, stuff like that.
Yeah, Germany, Netherlands, they still got some history.
And they're still running them. Yeah, well, that's just like Cowan Resources.
Right.
Cowan runs good turbines.
Yep.
Put up in 82, 83. They're still running really, really well today. So I was just in a conversation with somebody not too long ago telling me how wind energy was an unreliable source of power for a short period of time. And I'm like, that doesn't make that argument doesn't make sense to me, because I think if you maintain them right, you have to look at Cowan Resources as the measuring stick for how you run a project for 35 years or 30 years. So
Sure.
35 years, 1982, 83, 84, and they're still running today at a low failure rate, 3% main component failure rate.
There's an army of V17s on this hill running.
Yeah.
From the early 80s.
And the key to it is just maintain them correctly. Care and custody, right? Yeah. If you shortcut it, they won't last the way they're supposed to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would that be 40 years? Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty close.
That's impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
Make a generator run 40 years. You're right. So the lifespan is available, and it's a lot of and even those back then, right? They had failures during the warranty period. They had failures at 5 years because of wind angle and shear and rotation that wasn't planned for, was unknown. And as we say, celebrate getting to that point, because you get to go and solve that next problem to make the asset continue to run, right?
Absolutely. And you see, even in a project, turbines that take more abuse, some turbines that take more abuse than others, right?
Sure.
You have frontline turbines that maybe get more turbulence or heavier wind, or things that you probably can't see with the naked eye, but they affect that turbine. Mm-hmm. And it'll fail on you twice as much as the one in the back of the project, or the one that doesn't run as well, right?
Yep.
From a capacity factor standpoint.
The old prevailing wind.
Yeah.
Wear and tear. Absolutely. No, they keep going. It was just I think. Do you remember seeing a couple of 2-blade wind turbines still running down in Palm Springs?
Yeah, there's some old I think they're called Nedwind.
Nedwind.
Yeah, 1 megawatt Nedwind. I don't know the size. I they could be 600 kilowatt.
Yeah, I think maybe not a meg.
They're not a meg. Yeah, 600 kilowatt Nedwind turbines.
Some old 2-blade.
But there's a ton of them in Germany too.
Sure.
And Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if we still have any single blade out there. I think single blade was only prototype and never lasted. They all sort of destroyed themselves.
I don't know that I've ever seen a single blade turbine.
Oh, yeah?
No. Mm-hmm. No. Just one blade bolted to the front.
That's it.
Just long.
That's
it. Okay.
That's right.
So I remember
not
seeing
like
some
in the
single...
center where it would run like a propeller, but no, just one offset. So, the theory on that kinetic mechanical transfer of energy, right? If you have the less amount of mass for the most amount of speed and torque. So theoretically one would capture it, but nobody could, wasn't.
And I remember, talking single blade turbines, the downwind single blade turbines, right? That faced backwards.
Oh.
So they didn't really have a
upwind or downwind. I don't remember that.
They don't really have a yaw system, so they just kind of sit downwind and run. Yeah. But you can only, from my understanding, you only advance that to a certain size before it doesn't make sense, because of some loading issues and other things.
Yeah, pretty darn small.
But
are there still downwind turbines being
I don't think
no.
being produced. Not on a utility scale that I
Yeah.
know of. No.
Okay. Maybe some residential commercial size.
It could be small watt size, not kilowatt size, right? 500 watt downwind.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
little
okay.
bitty.
Something you get on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Something for the education or something. Yeah. All right. That's good. I did see at InterSolar, somebody had I think there was no gearbox, direct drive, permanent magnet generator, 30 kilowatt wind turbine.
30 to 50, he said.
see that thing?
Yeah, it was an amazing looking turbine. We talked about it for quite some time because it's a good looking, technologically advanced home industrial wind turbine.
I don't know about the cost and ROI on that one. I think I get a little confused versus just go buy yourself an old one that's been sitting in the dirt and stand it up, right? But
These have to be changed to single phase in order to, unless you're going to tie into a industrial facility behind the meter to a transformer, you would have to change this to a single phase.
no, I think they're all that use of that company is all behind the meter.
Yeah.
So that one they said is going straight to Paso Robles to a winery. I forget which winery.
And their turbines on the Central Coast now powering different facilities. So Dole has turbines now. Some of the agriculture processing facilities have turbines. Some of the state projects, state facilities have wind turbines on them in that valley.
But those are megawatt plus.
They're big turbines. Yeah.
Yeah, those are big turbines. Those are megawatt.
There's an old utility wind project in the Salinas Valley.
Okay.
There's like 20 turbines standing up on a ridge that I've never seen ran, but I noticed them one day. I drove up to them. I don't know who you would get a hold of to find out about them, but they're an old small turbine standing on a ridge. There's like 20 of them.
We'd like to take this time to thank another one of our wonderful sponsors, Podge Engineering. Podge Engineering, making wind and solar all we know it can be. Are your renewable energy assets underperforming or not performing at all? Did you expect many years of longevity and they're failing on you now? Podge LLC offers many customized, engineered products and solutions to get these assets back on track. Podge Engineering also performs root cause analysis, engineering services, procurement, and construction. Visit podge.org. That's PADGE.org. Remember Podge, making wind and solar all we know it can be. Have you seen more and more of this behind the meter development going on?
Where it makes sense. So there's some behind the meter I know in the Northeast and even around the Great Lakes a little bit, and then a lot in California because California promoted it. But it makes good sense. It's your own power source, and you're paying a discounted rate for that power. So you could be paying a discounted rate depending on how it's structured.
Solar's kind of giving a run for their money on behind the meter right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Solar is so easy to put on a rooftop and offset your electricity usage from the grid to you.
Yep. Yeah. It's simple.
And I think battery's going to come into play there too. It's just a matter of time. I think that battery's going to come into facilities as well because you can overproduce on your solar, charge your battery, and feed back into your system at night when you got low cost energy.
I saw one of these, like a 12-foot container, right? And it had the liquid cooling for the battery cells. It had the air cooling for the container. It had fire suppression. So I didn't know much of it, but I see that coming into the commercial industrial space now.
Yeah.
12-foot container. I
think it's going to be good for those spaces. I think there is a good place for small renewable projects inside of industry and even co-op type of stuff. Yeah.
Well, it's more efficient than setting a diesel generator back there for your backup or your offset, or
the cost is not too much different either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's not. And even propane, natural gas, it's still competitive to go with a renewable source.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And if you have the roof space or you have the land space, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Solar was one of the best things I ever put on a house.
Same.
It was unbelievable. Yeah. And it was, you cut your electricity usage from the grid and you fix your price That's the price you're going to pay for the next 10 or 15 years, and you know what that is, and it was really beneficial for my house.
Same.
Yeah.
I even installed my own. I'm thinking 4 years ago ish.
Yeah.
And
You had all the right tools to do it.
well, ETI delivered me just the right socket set for the job. But it's interesting. I needed a socket set and a drill motor.
Yeah.
I didn't really need any more tools.
Doesn't take too much.
Not a lot of tools.
Yeah.
And for the first time, never done it before, I think I did like a 8.5 kilowatt system in 40 hours.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It was just like after, a few hours after work each day, and the whole thing was running by Sunday.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now my California inspector, might have dinged me a few times. Had to get through that.
To add some signage.
Oh man, all sorts of little code things that I didn't know. But
The hardest part was
the hard way.
Hardest part was the application process through the utility, or no?
No. So I found a company that I was able to buy all the material from, and then also paid them for engineered stamp drawings and plans. So now I had my stamp drawings and plans, and I went to the permitting office, and man, I got the permit on the spot.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it was done. Boom, here you go. Go to work. You need to call your inspector at this point and this point for sign-offs and have fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's no one monitoring it, right? I didn't get one of those big packages, but I can.
You can monitor it, right?
A little app on my phone.
Yep.
Got micro inverters and little collector.
And you can see them all, and it works well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a big deal. Re-roofed the house last year. I went off and I tore it off and.
Oh, did you tear it off, put it back on?
Yeah, I think I had it torn off in 2 hours, and I might have reinstalled it and had it powered up in 3.
Oh, that's good.
It doesn't take a lot of time.
No.
Yeah, most of my time, it was a hot day taking water breaks.
I'll buy the equipment and have an electrician just come and install it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great way to go, right? Because
Yep.
then you also get local electricians getting some work in that space, and
Yep.
you may not get that monitoring package, but you can monitor it.
You can monitor
it. Yeah. No, it works well. I made a few mistakes. My 0-degree offset to the sun, my solar directional angle was a little bit off, but
it still produces good energy.
oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. And now it's 4 years ago, so I'm like, wow, there's upgraded panels now. I mean, I can swap off a few panels and make up the difference.
Yeah,
no problem.
That's right. That's right.
No
Especially if
problem.
you understand how that thing works.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
How was the show for you guys? How was Intersolar?
It was good. I would say educational. We got a lot of changes going on in the country right now. Folks trying to figure out how to pivot, how to align, changes. But we see that throughout our entire careers.
That's right.
The little ups and downs and changes.
A lot of ebb and flow.
Everything continues to move forward. Nothing to get too nervous about. Just a new problem to solve.
Yep.
Just a new problem to solve. Yeah. How about you?
It was good. It was good to connect with a few people that we do business with and just get some time there. I think it's more of a residential show.
Yeah.
So we don't do too much in that space, but the manufacturers of equipment that we sell do. Mm-hmm. So it's good to connect with them and get to visit for a little bit. And then of course you guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. The one thing I love about it is everybody getting to the same place for a little while and being able to talk about some of these things and the challenges of each entity and how we can network together to solve it.
And I think you still see new technology coming into those events where they're still learning to be had. So you get to see some new technology and how companies are growing. So that's good for me.
Right.
Yeah.
We saw some interesting robots and some new installation equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. The robots, the grass weed abatement robots were pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if I would trust that on my solar project with all those structures coming up out of the ground. That was a pretty big piece of equipment.
I know.
I felt like you would have to have some guardrails or something to protect your project if you're running that around. But it looked great. It looked like it was well built.
Yeah, I know. I thought the same. And then I also thought, I'd probably take a chance, what would the repair cost me versus the offset too?
Yeah.
And, keeping people a little safer.
Yeah, no, I mean, but some companies are just grazing animals in the same space. And you're seeing that. We have customers that post about that quite a bit. Yeah, sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they damage, or they're not like goats eat everything. So they're not like goats. They're not eating up your cables, but
And climbers.
And climbers, right? You don't want them standing up there. But we see that happening across that industry quite a bit, which is animals taking care of the weed abatement.
Well, that's fantastic. That's as renewable and sustainable as you could get.
I always found it funny. So, if you're in this industry a long time, you hear a lot of rumors about things that happen inside the industry. And in our communities, when I was managing projects, I heard a lot about animals. Oh, it scares the deer away. It scares the elk away. And what was funny is I would be driving around my project and I would see a whole herd of elk laying in the shadow, or a whole herd of deer laying in the shadow of my wind turbine.
Sundial shadow.
I'm like, they're so scared of it,
yeah.
Right? It's really running them away. And they would just stay and move with the shadow all day. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
You're right. They get used to it. All animals get used to it. I even think about getting, how animals get used to changes in their environment so quickly. And okay, some aren't always good, but for the most part, it does work. And I thought about fly fishing, right? I can walk out into the river, and somehow it doesn't take very long for those fish to get used to me as long as I'm still.
And come back.
And I can go fishing.
Yeah.
And they're right there next to me, right? So I don't know if everything's like a trout, but.
The one that surprised me the most is I was on a project doing a lot of avian studies, a lot of migrating bird studies, and the ducks, the migrating ducks and geese were really impressive. They were an eye opener for me. They would start taking elevation ahead of the project, and you could see them on radar taking elevation, and they would start out at level with the project, maybe a mile out. But by the time they got to the project, they had 1,000 foot of elevation above the turbines, and they would go over them. And it was year after year after year, they would take elevation and go over the project. They're smart. Of course. They didn't make it this long not being smart.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
I think we don't give, I don't think we give those species enough credit for what they can adapt to. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
100% agree. And I see lots of communities that, sort of live amongst the wildlife.
Yeah.
Right. I live in one.
That's
deer
right.
in the front yard.
Bear
in the front yard. Elk just down the street.
Yeah.
All over. You're golfing around them.
That's right.
I usually get at least, I don't know, somewhere between 1 and 3 fawns born in the front yard each year.
That's pretty good.
It's the best.
Yeah.
No. And if you're not careful, they can get too used to you, where you're almost feeding them.
Yeah, it's.
I don't actually agree with that.
No,
but I do think it's kind of freaking cute when somebody else does it. I'm like, all right, I get it. I'm still not going to do it myself, but I get it.
Yeah, it was. It's funny. I lived in Montana, went to Glacier National Park at least once a year, and there was a bear on the side of the road, and I was so surprised. We know better, right? So my team stays in the car. We're not getting out. That thing's still wild, right?
Yeah.
It eats big things.
This is a brown bear.
This is I think big black bear, I think.
Oh, big black bear. Okay.
What surprised me is how many people got out of the car thinking they could walk over to it.
Yeah.
And the rangers coming in and stopping them. I'm like, whoa, it's incredible.
Yeah. Easy, boo-boo.
Yeah.
Right. Easy, boo-boo.
I can't wait to see your episode with Doug and his history. Yeah. There's a few more guys in touch, but you should try to reach out to.
I'm trying. I've talked to half a dozen, 6 or 8, maybe more at this point. When I'm kind of calling the legends, folks that have been around doing a little longer than us, to get them to come on and share their stories and learn a little bit more about where this started and where we came from, right? So I would appreciate the contacts.
I'm going to try to connect you with a couple guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, good guys. They've been around for a long time. Ed Bullard was just a great mentor.
Okay.
And had a ton of history on what took place in Tehachapi in terms of wind. And he was in that network of guys from the beginning, and just a good guy to learn from. So he's a good one. There's some other engineers that are still around that I think would be good to talk to and see if you can get them on.
Love that. No, love to have him on. And
I learned most of my history of wind from being around those guys.
Yeah,
especially wind here in this pass, and even things that happen down in Palm Springs. The first commercial or utility scale battery project was tested down there, I think in the 90s, and failed, catastrophic failure. But it's interesting that they were trying it in the 90s, right? They were putting batteries in the ground and trying to charge them off wind turbines.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Altair Energy Services, and their highly trained, expert technical staff, leveraging decades of renewable power management experience into customized solutions for everyone to meet their energy goals and contribute to a better future for all. Altair's team of hardworking, respected experts are providing full-scope, turnkey repairs, planned and unplanned maintenance, system upgrades, fully autonomous technical crews, supplemental staffing, and customized dynamic scheduling to fit your power production needs. Contact Altair at info@altairenergyservices.com and learn more about their wide range of capabilities across multiple power technologies and platforms. Makes sense, right? Yep. You're trying to level that load.
Yep.
Oh, we appreciate that, Joe. Put us in contact and we'll reach out and see if we can get them on the podcast. Here's some of the old stories.
I think that history is good to keep moving forward with and getting to hear about. So,
and that's the thing. Where can you keep it? Right. We know of a few small museums running around the country or placed around the country, but it's the digital era. Podcast seems to be the popular medium. Yeah. You tell the story and it lives forever.
Yeah, and there's some good books. There's some good books out there that were written right here in Tehachapi on wind and the history of wind. Paul Gipe, look up Paul Gipe's books. And he was from here, and he wrote some books on wind energy.
Okay.
I say books. I don't know if it was multiple. I know that there was one in our office for a long time when I was a new technician.
Paul Gipe. All right, I'm going to check that out. I would read those books and see if we can get some of them in to tell some stories too.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I love it too. What else is going on in the area? Anything else fresh and hot in tools we should know about?
Man, we're doing a ton. So we're starting to build full tool cribs for companies, mobile tool cribs in a sea container or trailer.
Okay.
Ready to go, fully powered, onboard fuel source, lit LED lighting outside and inside with heat, ready to go use on a project. And so we started that about 3 months ago, and delivered one to a customer. And that thing's going project to project today with everything in it to go do repair. And so I think we're going to explore that a little bit more and offer that up for more than renewables for some other industries, because it makes sense to have a secure place to move tools in and out of a project for scheduled work like that.
Okay. So you can get the trailer or
a container. Yep. And it's fully built with tool storage and generator power. Also has shore power options, overhead handling for heavier equipment, so you can move that big rigging in and out.
Overhead material handling.
Yeah, overhead.
Interesting.
Inside the roof of the container with some rigging racks and inside power for charging all your batteries for your torque equipment or impact equipment, and then full tool storage. Everything's secure inside the container, lockable. And then also has a big section for safety. You keep all your safety equipment there and your project AED and
extra PPE, consumable stuff.
Extra hard hats, consumable products, fire storage, things like that. So, or flammable storage.
Right.
Yep.
Brilliant. And you said temperature controlled option as well?
Well, we're going to do heat in them.
At least.
At least heat in them. And we're even, probably some fresh air moving through them for those, summertime.
Right. Big fan, forced air. The heat is important, right? So we've done on some of those jobs, you get a little bit of this downtime, or you get a little bit of this weather window that's not great, and you just sort of want to hunker down for maybe a few hours or something, and then get back into your weather window.
Yeah, and we're building them in a way where you can actually set up in them with a laptop if you needed to, and you could go through your documentation, and you don't want to sit in an ice cold, container. So it has workbench and has a place where you could do some research if you needed to. So it's ready. It's ready for a complete project.
Okay.
So,
Tool crib, mobile tool crib is what you're calling it. And it can be either a trailer or a container.
Yeah. The last one we did was a container, fully built, loaded with all the equipment, tools included, and then it was loaded on a truck and taken to a project. So.
Customized for a specific type of work or type of turbine, or
mainly for heavy repair, some MCE work, gearbox change out, generator change out, blade change out, things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, then they can be tailored. They can be tailored for you or your company. A company could have 4 or 5 projects in a localized area, and they don't want to have to buy that equipment at each project or transport it in a pickup truck. Right. They would have a trailer they could tow from project to project, completely loaded and secure.
Makes sense. Yeah. There's a lot more tools and gear needed today.
And sharing the asset cost across a few projects makes good sense, right?
Oh, yeah. Right.
Especially for an ISP, right?
Knowing when to pull the trigger on those is important.
That's right.
Well, it's good to know that you got them available. So you got toolkits for your hand toolkits, truck toolkits, trailer toolkits,
maintenance kits,
toolkits, maintenance kits.
Yeah. So we're doing full maintenance kits for a couple of different technologies with everything needed in a box, so they can load it in a pickup truck and go do maintenance.
I bet you even have it customized on the type of maintenance you're doing.
Because
they're not all the same.
They're not all the same, but that's really customized by what you pull out of it, right? To take up tower. So you can pull out everything in the box, go do an annual maintenance, or you can pull out what you need to go do a semi-annual.
Yeah.
And there are different lists for that, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No. One of our lead techs was kind of walking me through how even on one particular turbine type, a major component exchange toolkit, if you were doing the bearing or the gearbox or the generator or what maybe yaw drive or whatever it was, had to reconfigure the toolkits because it would they had everything.
Yeah.
Right.
But you had to prep it and load it for what you were going to go do.
Right. Yeah. And even though you're on the same turbine type, but that prep and change was very important when it came to efficiency and cycle time on the job. So and I think it was worth the extra sort of half day to reconfigure the kits.
And we used to put this equipment in this bag and this equipment in this bag, and we knew we didn't need this one for this job. We needed this one, or we need both of them, right? And you could separate them that way, and we kept them in those bags. I think these guys in the field, these lead techs and field supervisors, are good at that stuff.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
And knowing to take a little extra time and just resort.
Yep, that's right. Well, but have it all, right? You don't want to be in a situation. One of the things that we try to help people with is you don't want to be in a remote situation and only had one of an item. Yeah. And then it fails on you and you're stuck in a remote situation and you're doing overnight shipping. You're sending a guy, 6 hours away, trying to figure out how to source what could be a specialty product, right?
Right.
So we try to encourage people to get what they need and think about those critical items that they might need an extra, just to have it, keep going. Yeah.
Okay. So you can advise on critical items. So maybe you want to have that spare part to it. And then, early wear out items or items that need repaired or a little early. So add that to your backup list.
That's right. And understand what those things are, right? I mean, what's the cost of having a crane hooked to your equipment for a day looking for a $1,000 tool?
Well, it's more than $1,000.
It's more than $1,000, right? Or just your manpower standing there, right? Paying standby time.
Yep.
That's killer. So to think about how to manage that risk, it's cheaper to probably buy an extra tool than it is to have that crane hooked up for a long period of time. Even on the rigging side, make sure you have in some cases, an extra piece of rigging.
Yeah. And so then you get to watch the industry and the trends, and you can advise us on which pieces to have as the backup and which ones are not worth the money to have as the the spare.
Yeah, where the risk isn't so inherent, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, we're growing with it, man. We love it, and being involved with the different companies and what they're doing is a benefit, right? It's one of the things that I sought out to do in this, is to just stay connected with these industries and the people, and that piece is enjoyable. So
It is. It's a rewarding industry,
yeah, I think
no
so
matter
too.
how you're working and supporting it.
And I love seeing the new technology. Man, those turbines that are coming into the U.S. are big. We're looking at turbines that were 50 feet tall and 50 kilowatts, 65 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Now I think I just saw a rotor diameter 164 meters going in the ground in Texas.
In the ground.
Yep. 6 megawatt turbines on land running in Wyoming.
Okay.
Those are big pieces of equipment. So that piece is exciting for me.
That's a big turbine.
It's a big turbine.
That's a big turbine onshore.
Onshore, it's a big turbine. And there's bigger ones, I think, being tested in Europe now for onshore.
I'm sure. That's always the race, right? That capacity factor, growth, and right.
Yeah.
It is. It's rewarding. What else? What else, my friend, do you want to share with us about anything trending or?
I mean, I don't know about anything trending. I mean, I'm sure there are certain things trending if we were on that topic, but I think that just having a good partner, a good resource for supporting your operation is a really good benefit, right? It's a relationship piece, right? Somebody that's willing to jump through the hoops for you, understands your needs and projects, and yeah, I don't think people measure the value in that as much as it is, or as much as they need to.
And someone that answers the phone.
Pick up the phone. Oh man, that's one of my pet peeves. Just for this, if you have a company and you don't answer the phone and talk to the people that need your services, you're not providing the best customer service.
No, for all outsourced services for the company, we have this weird metric of if there's not a human or maybe a small group that we can talk to and communicate with, written word, spoken word, however you want to communicate, probably not the right group for us.
Yeah, I mean, if one of the values of our business is to build relationship, you can't do that with a chat bot, right?
No.
Or you can't do that with somebody offshore. For the most part, they don't understand your business, right? So we tend to gravitate towards companies that have really good customer support, and they want to communicate. They want to tell you about what they have and what they're doing, and how they can support you as you go off and tell your customer how you can support them, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I think it goes hand in hand with that relationship building piece. So that's how we operate as a business, and that's who we seem to do more business with, is people we can communicate with.
Right? No. And I mean, there have been a few times I remember on our toolkits where you've said we could save you some money if you just switch this out or that out, and this has a little better of a life expectancy on it, this particular tool or that one. And
well, we want
I won't get that if I'm on, my website shopping list.
point click.
Point click.
And you don't even know if it's right. We have some horror stories of guys ordering stuff because it was super cheap.
Okay.
On the web, and what showed up was only half of what they needed, and the little disclaimer at the bottom, they didn't read the case only. It didn't come with the tools; it was just the case. That's why it was so cheap, and that happens quite a bit. You would be surprised at what's being imported that is that the fine print's not being read, and they're having to order twice.
Okay.
So we like to communicate with you, make sure you're getting what you need. We don't want to sell things that guys aren't using.
Right.
So we'll take that time to advise as well, and make sure you guys have what you need to do the job.
And it's because you and some of the folks at ETI have been technicians. You
Yeah.
know what it's like.
We have quite a few that have been in the field, even in the back office of operations, and know what's going on in the field. We think it's important for how we relate to the industry,
100%.
how we support.
Yeah. I believe
So
the same.
we're going to be searching for more people with experience in the field to do sales and to manage accounts and provide the feedback, experiential feedback into what we're supplying to our customers.
Well, congrats. It's fantastic that you guys are growing and hiring. And, personally love the fact that you're looking for folks that have that field experience.
Yeah. Yeah, we think it's really valuable to what we're doing.
100%.
And not just valuable for us, really valuable for our customers, right? When you have a salesman that has been up in a wind turbine and he knows what the guys are going through, right? He knows how they're dealing with the tools or the weight of the tools. We think it's really beneficial.
They're not just a salesperson; they're a subject matter expert.
Yeah, they're a support for your operation and what you're doing when it comes to supply side.
Love that. I think you're on the right track, collecting the right team, and obviously studying your culture and how the team grows together and melds. And
we're working hard on it. Yeah, we think it's great.
Congratulations.
We're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. My team seems to be enjoying it too.
Yeah,
I had a great team.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And we appreciate you supporting the podcast. We're doing some final touches together on a little jingle coming out.
Yeah, we're excited about that. My whole team was excited to get that clip, so that was good.
All right.
Yeah, that's new ground for us. Get out of your comfort zone a little bit, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's a little bit new ground for us. It was good.
All right. Well, we're going to have that aired here pretty quick.
Yeah.
And, we'll keep talking. And I think, you and I will see each other between some of the shows and your trips back to California.
We'll be in Nashville with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be in Arizona with you as well. So look forward to seeing you guys there and getting to hang out.
There we go.
And supporting you. So yeah, we want to see what you're doing grow in this. And we love it.
Fantastic. Well, Joe, thanks again for showing up, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you guys for having me. Good to be
right,
here.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.